So let's implement this data model. First, let's implement the data model on the middle tier on the Java side. That's fairly easy, right? You can follow along what we've provided you already for faculties and courses and modules, and you can extend that easily to modules and lessons to topics. So let's work on that real quick. If we go to our Java Spring Boot application, if you remember, we already had courses. It's a simple data model. It just has an ID and a title. So let's add a couple more things here, like for instance a module. Right, so let's do that. So if we add a module here, and you can find all this on the slides. They're already presented there. So let's create a class here for a module. I'm not going to do the entire module fields. Okay, I'm only going to keep it as simple as possible for time constraints. I'm just going to have here an integer ID, and I'm going to have a string title. Okay, that's as far as the data model for this is. But the other thing that we need here to do is to model the relationship between a course and a module, right? Where a course can have many modules, and a module can have one course, belongs to one course. So to accomplish that, we can have here a reference back to the the course that this module belongs to, right? So there we go, right? So we know now that a module knows what course does it belong to, and vice versa. The course needs to know that it not only does it have a ID and title, but also it has a one-to-many relationship with the modules, right? So we have here a list of modules. So these are the modules. Okay, all right. We need to import a list. So that if this were just a plain old Java object that is not being persisted into a database, this is enough, right? This is plenty to instantiate these objects in memory. But these are not just we're not just using this in RAM. We're also persisting this in the database. So we need to annotate it to tell the database how is it that we want to implement this relationship, right? There's a couple ways in SQL. The typical way to implement this one-to-many relationship is to have the child, the module, have a foreign key back to the parent. Right? That's the more typical way. And the parent, the course, would have no knowledge of its children. Okay, a very bad parent. But the Java in the Java world, indeed, we do have this relationship where we have a collection of children. Right? That's a typical way of modeling in Java. So anyway, so here we have to establish the relationship in SQL. We need to use JPA to declare that relationship. So we're gonna go to the modules. And we're gonna say, hey, this course here is how we're going to have a relationship. Right? We're gonna say that this establishes a many-to-one. Right? This is we are on the many side of a one-to-many relationship, right? Notice that in our the module is on the many side of a one-to-many relationship between a course and a module. Yes. So that's we're going to tell this to JPA. So this is a many-to-one. Okay, and we're going to import that annotation. And on the course, we're going to do the inverse. We're going to say. We are on a one-to-many. We're on the one side of a one-to-many relationship, right? So one-to-many. And let's import that. Okay. And by the way, the many side refers to me using the field course, right? So it's then we configure the map by the field course. So the course field is what's going to implement the foreign key that refers back to me. Okay. All right, so that's it. We need to also add the setters and getters of these two new fields that we added. We have modules. We're going to add at the bottom. We're going to add at the bottom after the set title. So we'll add the setters and getters for that. We'll do the same thing for module. We'll add all the setters and getters for this. So source setters and getters. Oops. source setters and getters, generate setters and getters, select all. There we go. All right, excellent. I guess I meant to display and put them at the end, not at the beginning. All right, so that implements this relationship, right? The course to modules, right? Now we can repeat the same exact idea and go further from modules to lessons. All right, so let's go a little further and let's do that. Let's implement here a lesson. We're just going to repeat exactly what we just did. Right, we're going to create another class, and this will be lesson. And again, I'm going to keep it simple. For lesson, I'm going to say that the only fields that I care about here are private int ID, and also there's a title, spring title. Right? But we also have a relationship with modules, right? Each module has many lessons, right? So let's create that relationship. This will be something like private module. This is my parent module that I belong to. And then I can do the inverse relationship, right, where a module can have many lessons, right? So we have a private list of lessons. So these are the lessons. Yes? All right. And again, we create the relationship and annotate saying that here we are on the one-to-many relationship, right? We're on a one-to-many. We're on the one side of a one-to-many relationship. So this is a one-to-many. We are participating in a one-to-many here, and that we are being. Let's import that, and we'll say that this is mapped by module. And same thing on the lesson side. We are going to tell JPA that we are in the many side of a one-to-many relationship. Okay. All right. Let's see. A couple other things that we need to annotate here. We need to annotate this as an entity, right? So that it maps to a table of the same name. Let's annotate that. And we need to annotate the primary key for this, right? The primary key would be saying that this is an ID. Let's see. And that and it's generated. I do not want to handle the value. So this is, and I'm going to use a strategy to do for as an auto increment. Okay. Right. And similarly, we need to do that for the lesson. The lesson is an entity, and the primary key is generated. Right, and for the lessons, we need the setters and getters for this. So let's generate the setters and getters, generate setters and getters, all of them, and I want to display them way at the bottom. All right, excellent. There we go. So we have the data model all the way up to lesson. All right, and on the database side, notice that we only have the course table. We don't have any of the other tables, right? We don't have modules or lessons or anything like that. If we restart our server, as it starts, it will generate JPA queries to create those new tables, right? Notice that somewhere in here, notice that it created these two tables. See that? The lesson and the module table weren't there, so it has created them. We can see back in the database that if we refresh, we now have both tables, module and lesson, right? And presumably referencing each one of these. So if we look at modules, we can take a look at the send the create. Right? We'll see that indeed we do have a primary key, and then we have a foreign key that references. We have auto increment. Module course ID. Course ID references the course ID. All right, excellent. Let's keep going. Perhaps we can do one more, right? The topic. Let's do the topic real quick. Let's do the topic. Why not? let's do the topic here. So let's say new class, and this will be topic. Oh, let me stop the server. Otherwise, it's going to try and generate these things on the fly as I'm editing the source, and it's very annoying. So let me just create here the topic, and say finish. And here we can again we'll keep it simple. We'll say that this is an entity. That has integer ID, and this is a private, the key, right? And then we have generated. Actually, we should import all these, import the ID as well. And we're going to be generated value, and this is the strategy is. Identity, right? And we have our string, private string title. And also we are participating in the many side of a one-to-many relationship with lessons. Lessons have many topics, right? So this is private. We belong to a particular lesson. And we are on the many side of a one-to-many relationship. All right, let's import that as well. Import. I think we're done with the topic. We just need the setters and getters. So let's create the setters and getters for this. Setters and getters. I think it's being parsed still. Source generate setters and getters. There we go. And we want them at the bottom. Okay, I think we're done with topics. Let's go now to lesson, and let's add a list of lessons here. Let's see, we can say that we have a list of lessons. I'm sorry, topics, right? So topic, and we have the topics. Okay, so let's we can insert that. Excellent, and we're going to notify that this is we're part of the one-to-many relationship. Where the map by, right? We first have to import the one-to-many and say that we're going to be mapped by the lesson attribute. Yes? Okay. All right. I think we're good. We need to generate the getter for this new field, and we'll add it at the bottom. Right, there it is, the setter and getter for the topics. One thing that we need to remember to add is the fact that we don't want to create a circular reference, right? Where as it starts to be generated, right, back as JSON, notice that as it navigates from courses to the modules, we don't want it to have it go back to the course again, right? Because then it'll just go in an infinite loop. So we're going to add here a JSON ignore, right? So that it doesn't go into infinite loop. Same thing for the lessons, right? Because the lessons refers back to the module, right? So we get into this infinite loop. So I'm going to add a JSON ignore there too. And lessons has many topics. So again, topic references the lesson, and it will get into this infinite loop. So we'll add an ignore there as well. And I think that's it. We're all the way down to the leaf, right? So we have all that. Excellent. Let's restart the server so that it generates this new topic table. Okay, notice at this time it created a brand new topic table, but it did not recreate the other tables. Instead, it altered the existing table. See that? To make sure that it added these new requirements. All right, excellent. So let's refresh, and we have the topic. Okay, so let's see. We have courses. We have courses. Excellent. We have courses. So let's add a couple of modules first. All right, let's add a couple of modules. So let's see. We're going to say send to and then insert, and let's add just a couple of modules here. All right, so let's make that a little bigger. All right, so let's insert a couple modules in here. So let's see, as title, I'll call it module, for course 1, this is module 1, and the course is course number 1, right, which is, I think it's CS 5610. I think that's the course. Let's see, and let's insert just a couple more. Let's insert module number 2 for the same course, course number 1, okay? And how about, let's copy that again, and let's paste it again, but this will be for course number 2. So this will be, let's see, this is module 1.1.1.2, and then this will be module 2.1 for course number 2, and this is module 2.2 for course number 2. Okay? Make sense? All right, so if we select all that and run it, we look at the modules, and now we have 4 modules, right, for 2 different courses. All right, so 2 modules for course 1, 2 modules for course 2. Excellent. So let's go a little further and create lessons for each one of these modules. So let's see, we can create lessons. We're going to send to an editor for insert. We're going to insert a couple of lessons into those modules we just created. Okay. All right, so let's see, the ID I'm not going to deal with because that's the auto incremented. So let's insert into lessons. This will be lesson, let's see, module 1, I'm sorry, course 1, module 1, lesson 1. And this will be for module number 1. All right, let's do the same thing. Another lesson, lesson number 2, for the same module. All right. This will be lesson number 1, but for module number 2. And this will be module number 2, lesson number 2 for module number 2. Yes? All right. So if you select that and insert, we can now look at the lessons and see that we have 4 lessons. Okay. The first 2 lessons belong to module number 1, which belongs to course number 1. Yes? Right, and the lessons 1.2.1, 1.2.2 belong to module 2, which also belongs to the same course. Yes, all right. And finally, let's play around with some topics. Let's insert a couple of topics. Send insert. Okay. And that okay. And so this will be. This is topic, let's see, topic course 1, module 1, lesson 1, topic number 1, belonging to module number 1. There it is. This is topic number 2 for the same lesson. Oh, sorry, same lesson. So this is number 1 still. Oh, copy. For module number 2, I'm sorry, for lesson number 2. Lesson number 2. So this is 2. All right, let's add one more lesson. So one lesson will have 2 topics, and the other lesson will have 3 topics. Okay. All right. Copy, and we're going to execute the whole thing. And if we look at the list of all the topics, we should have 5 topics. 2 topics for lesson number 1 and 3 topics for lesson number 2. Make sense? All right, excellent. So we have data. We have data. On the server side back, right? We have the data model. We need a repository, right, to retrieve for a particular course what are the modules, the lessons, the topics, and everything. Okay, but I think we already had that, didn't we? We had the CRUD repository for the course. I think we had the service. Didn't we have the service? Retrieve all the courses, right? We had all the courses. Let's see what we have so far. If we hit the server, localhost 8080, and we have API course, let's see what we get. Right? Notice that what we get is that for course number 1, we have the modules. For course number 2, we have the modules. And let's see. I was expecting also the lessons here. Let me see what we have here. If we forgot to do something here for the course. So here's a course. Has a one-to-many with modules. If we go down to modules, we have many-to-one, JSON ignore. And then we have a list of lessons. Do we have the setter and getter for lessons? Oh, we don't have the setter and getter for lessons. Probably that's why. Right? It's missing one of the setters and getters. So let's add the setter and getter. Yeah, we forgot the setter and getter for lessons. That's why it wasn't retrieving it. Right? So don't forget to put the setters and getters. So I'll put it at the bottom. Okay. Let's make sure we didn't forget any other setter and getter. Let's go down to lesson. Do we have the setter and getter for topics? Looks like we do. And for the topics, I think that's it. Let's restart the server. And see if we can hit that service again. There we go. Now we have the entire data. See that? This is hitting the course, all the courses. It's iterating all the courses. For each course, it's fetching all the modules. So it's joining. It's creating a huge join, right? It's joining, 4, 5 tables, right? Courses with modules, with lessons, with topics, right? And it's recreating an entire JSON object for that includes everything. So modules, we have lessons, we have topics, all the way down to all the leaves. And then we have for the same module, we should have one that, notice that this one has, this first lesson has 2 topics, but this second lesson has 3 topics. Okay? Excellent. So we have everything. We have everything. So what I wanted to point out is that there's 2 main techniques. As we navigate down this data structure, we can navigate and say, okay, well, for a particular course, fetch me the modules. And once you select the modules, fetch me the lessons. And once you select the lessons, fetch me the topics. That's one way. Okay. The other way is to do one big load, right, of the entire data structure, right, and then just render the whole thing, right, as one big object. All right. That's what I wanted to present to you today. So let's try and play around with that notion. Okay.